Greetings.
How are you, Queen?
Greetings, everyone.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Okay.
Good to see you, Queen. Thank you for coming on.
Not only happy to see you, but so joyful to see the work that is being done by everyone. Everyone is taking the responsibility of wearing their crown, you know, and this is beautiful to see. All of you and all the people that were in the show yesterday. I'm Queen Diambi Kabatusuila Mwata, Mukalinga Mukajiwanka Shama of the Bakwaluntu people of Kasai, and Queen Mother of the African descendants of Brazil. And I'm so proud to be here today. And exactly, I will ask the same question as I always ask. If Terry is here, what's the question I'm going to ask before I even start speaking?
Have you done any libation?
I'm going to ask about, did we pour libation?
And I'm going to say this time around,
without fail. So I don't know. I don't have Terry telling me. Can anybody tell me if we poured libation today?
We didn't pour libation.
No.
No. This is a no-no.
We would appreciate it.
No. We pouring libation is all of you know, but for people maybe watching this, it's really a moment that we bring our focus together and we gather all our energies so that we can create a vortex within which we can really plug our life stream and our life force and nourish each other, and we can nourish our minds and our body and our souls to understanding what needs to be poured into the libation and what it has to be taken away from it. So it's usually a very important ceremony that we do because we want to make sure that those symbols are really respected because water has a lot of meaning to it. And I know my elders here and my teachers here, you know exactly what I mean. So if you don't mind, I was assuming that we would have poured libation, but since we didn't, you're going to have to allow me just a minute for me to put my camera on pause, to bring some water and to pour quickly the libation, if I may, okay? So just allow me and excuse me for just 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So now we can go back to that quick question if you want to discuss that before Queen comes back.
Yes,
well, culture is absolutely important because that's who you are. Your culture is, a part of who you are. What makes you you? What makes you a people, and it also binds a people together. You know what I mean? Culture brings people together, and it assists in their ability to work cooperatively. So. Absolutely. And so much of our African culture was taken away. For example, the fact that it should be automatic to us that we know to pour libations when we come together to do something. You know what I'm saying? That's culture. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of who we are as African people. And if you are on the African continent, then you know that when they do come together for things, they pour libations first. But we lost that. And so I'm glad that our queen has come and reminded us this, and hopefully going forward, we will all remember that this is something that we should be doing as African people.
My sister, Yao, also want to stress the point that it's not everybody in Africa that remembers that. I think I was talking yesterday about the fact that in Africa, we are severely damaged as well because the years of colonization, years of brutality, excessive brutality, and the years of colonization of brain dirtying has caused us to push away and try to cut ourselves from who we are. And even pouring libation is a symbol of gaining, our identity, of restoring our identity. Because you have a lot of people out there that look at this, even this simple ritual as being something that is not supposed to be done, that is bad. So we have churches and other people foreign faith that are criticizing us, even though their own temples and churches use libation. But when we do it, we are the ones who created the process of libation. We are the ones who understood that we are only part of a whole. And as a part of a whole, water is really the great symbol for that. And this is why I'm going to just explain a little bit why water. I know most of the people who have worked with me, you guys that know exactly that I go to this tutorial because just like you, I had to learn that. I didn't grow up in the Congo where we were pouring libation. I remember just that it was a normal gesture to, before we ate or before we drank, we poured a little bit on the ground for the ancestors. That was really all I remember. And we were just doing it automatically. And even that has been now lost most of the places in Africa because churches have gotten in there and they criticize, and then now you it's like you doing pacts with the devil, which is absolutely not the case. But then I had to learn all this, and this is what you were addressing, and I come in to piggyback on what you said about culture. Culture is not something static. Our ancestors, understood reality and studied the environment in which they were. They derived a lot of understanding from the observation and working with nature. And there is indeed, what is visible, but there's also what is invisible. Nature, what we see with our eye, with our senses, what we perceive with our senses, just such a small fraction of the reality that is out there. The one that we can sense with who we are, with the tool of our body, but there is even more beyond that we can understand or we can experience because we are made of that same reality. So why water? Why is water that is so important? Water is a sacred element. Is one of the 5 elements that we know on this plane, but it's a sacred element because water represents life. We are made of water. This entire planet is basically a drop of water. It's not dirt. It's almost 90% water. The planet. So this planet is a drop of water flying across the universe. Today, we're talking about COVID-19. Everybody's talking about droplets. Most lived our life never thinking that our words are imbued with water. So there is nothing that we do. We breathe out water. We are made of water. We are carried in the womb of our mother with water. So water really is a strong element that really reinforces our vital force when we reconnect with it, when we take our mind and focus on water. So it's an energizer, it's a cleanser, it's a purifier. So that's the second most important thing. Water cleanse, water purify. And as we're coming into spaces where we're talking about our challenges and the plans that we have for the future, we have to cleanse a lot of the dirt that we have accumulated because of the experience that we have gone through. So a lot of healing has to happen. So cleansing is the symbolism of healing. Make anew. Water has this ability, and the water within us has the ability to do so. So when we connect with that principle, we also increase our potency to really regenerate ourselves, regenerate our bodies, regenerate our minds, regenerate our souls. We ignite this potency. The third symbol of water, it's very versatile, meaning that we are coming here together, gathered for what? Not just for the fun of it, just to talk so we can giggle and laugh. We are here because we are trying to find our path to peace and prosperity, to restore our people. Water is the element that will always find her path. There is no obstacle that water cannot circumvent, find a way in or out or around. And sometimes it can seep through a rock, one drop at a time, maybe 2,000 years, maybe 10,000 years, until it makes a hole, until it builds a wall. Whatever is in front of you, whatever obstacle is in front of you, water has enough flexibility and enough way to be malleable so that we can find a cohesion, because we are bringing people from different streams. We all are from different streams, but yet again, when we pour each other, we pour each of and every single one of us into one body of water, we engage into seeing how we're going to make it work. Because once everybody drop in here, it's only one water. You cannot distinguish the drop that came from my sister Yao. You cannot distinguish the drop that came from my brother Dean, and my sister Queen Diambi. You can only pull up a new drop that is made out of all of the other drops. So it also symbolizes unity. It doesn't symbolize unicity. We are all different. It symbolizes that we made a decision to come together. And the last symbol for me that we need to talk about when we pour libation is the symbol of the strength of water. Although you can break it apart droplets by droplets, yet again, nothing resists to water. Once a tsunami is up, everything that is in front of the water. So when water becomes tormented, when we have used and abused and we get tormented, water rebels and water can break everything. This is why you have cancer cells. This is those are all cells are made of water. So when we pour libation, that means that we have already made an agreement with each other that we're coming in here in this space to create a sacred space. And we have done experiences with this already. When we are gathering like a lot of people and you pour libation from the very beginning, you're going to see how everything is going to happen in a very orderly manner. Everybody's going to behave. Everybody's going to respect each other. Everybody's going to say what they have to say. You may have come with this message, and next thing you know, you'd say another message because that's what was needed in those circumstances. And when you don't do it, you can see how chaos can happen. So that's why I tell my brothers and sisters, whenever we're going to do some things that is sacred, because what we are doing right now is sacred, those conversations are extremely important to have. And what we say will change the world. So we cannot take this lightly and thinking that we should jump in a conference call and so forth. Yeah, we can do that for chit-chatting about our neighbors, whatever. But when it comes about the faith of humanity, because the faith of our people is the faith of humanity, because we are the elder of this human group. And we have the faith of humanity is going to be decided between these conversations that we are having, 3 or 4 or 5 of us gathered together. So no matter how many you are, even if you are alone, when you're going to reflect or write on something or prepare for a speech that you're going to give somewhere, even if it's in private, pour libation. I do it in public. I poured libation in Davos, Switzerland, when I was at the WEF, at the World Economics Forum. I poured libation, and if I only tell you what happened, you will be like, it's amazing. The amount of healing that happened, you saw people from the entire planet hugging and dancing together and crying together, from China, from Africa, from everywhere. There was so much healing happening that it was unbelievable. Even to me, I was like, okay, this is what the potency of our word, when it's accompanied with the right intention and the right rituals. So it's really a threefold. So that's for libation. And I'm going to an extensive explanation. You don't have to do that. See, I'm just doing it so that, we can learn. And I know you guys know already, but people who are watching, so they understand what is libation and why do we do it. But when you gather, you can just pick up. Normally we do libation, we pour libation on the ground. Okay, because of course it symbolizes the ancestors. We are here because of them. And honoring ancestors is something that we're going to do with the ground. But our first ancestor is the source of life itself. Since we all come from the source of life, we all stream from life. This is who the first ancestor is. The first ancestor is the force from which emanate everything. Our Kemetic ancestor called it the Nun. So it's that primordial force is our first ancestor. So when we pour this, we don't pour it just for the grandpa or grandma or auntie or so. We pour it for all the life that came before us so that we can manifest in this form today. And it's also a show of appreciation that we are leaving arrogance behind. We are coming humble to realize that we stand on some other people's shoulders. That's why we don't always call on just our bloodline, but we call also on all the teachers that have inspired us, all the people that have worked before us to allow us to be here today, the people who fought against the human trafficking from the African people. No matter who they are, we may not know them, but we giving honor because we recognizing that we are not made of our own self. We come from a community of our parents and our blood relatives that came before us, but also a community of people who worked to allow us to become who we are today. Our teachers, the doctors that healed us when we were sick, the people that made the roads, the people that thought about making an airplane, or all these ancestors, they have to be honored because without them, we wouldn't be here today. So that's why we pour libation. And it's a very simple process. We're supposed to pour it on the ground outside, but since we are inside, I have my clay pot that represents the earth. So I will just, very simple, just, I give grace and I pour libation for all the ancestors, starting with the primordial ancestors, who is our first ancestor. I pour libation for all the ancestors that made it so that we are here today. I pour libation for all the ancestors who have inspired us. I pour libation for all the ancestors who fought so that we can be who we are today and we can have, we can be present. I pour libation for all our blood relatives, all the grandfathers, the grandmothers, all these parents that have come before us and went through all the trials and tribulation and stood firm and stayed mighty and courageous so they can go through life to carry life. And here we are today. I pour libation to create that sacred space so that everything that needs to be said comes from a clean heart, comes from a clean mind, a clean behavior, and a clean words. I pour libation so that everybody can be open to receive the message that comes from the primordial ancestor so that we can create prosperity and peace on earth for the African people to reclaim their identity and strength so they can continue to be the guides of humanity as they have been from the longest time. And now I pour libation for that we are ready to talk and rejoice with our family here on this panel. Thank you.
Ashe.